Hey guys, Adrian from the Sound of Accra Podcast here, and yeah, here we are in another exotic location doing another end of season review. I really can't believe how quickly time has gone since season 5 was wrapped up. And for those of you who haven't seen season 5, look out for a link here or there, or maybe just in the description below, and you guys can catch up with what happened in season 5. But yeah, the funny thing is I was in an exotic location a few weeks ago, and I should have done the season end of season review there, but I didn't get a chance to. But you know, lo and behold, I've had another opportunity to go to another country, and here I am in lovely Zimbabwe. Yeah, Harare, Zimbabwe. Just in the Harare Gardens at the moment, and I thought I'd just take some time from my schedule just to quickly do the end of season review. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one as you have in previous season reviews, and I'll say it once again, at the end of every season I always find myself abroad in one lovely location, one exotic location to another, and this time I find myself in Zimbabwe. So we're going to tackle the end of season. Okay, we're going to tackle the end of season review of season 6 of Sound of Accra Podcast. So in regards to this season, let's go through it. So I believe that this season we had 12 episodes. We had 12 episodes of this season. I was planning to do about 15, but what happened was that one of the episodes that I wanted to include in this season, I had to leave out because of the sound quality. So I will talk about some of the challenges that I faced in the season, as I usually do. And there was a couple other episodes that I wasn't able to do with some of my favorite brands in Ghana. It happened due to some misunderstandings, some confusions, and lack of availability. So we will get through that at some point. But anyway, I want to talk about season 6. First and foremost, I want to say from a production standpoint and from a content standpoint, I believe it was a lot better than it was from season 5. From the production to the content. So in regards to season 6, so we had 12 episodes. Just to recap again, so we had 12 episodes, and if we recap the 12 episodes that we kicked off with, in terms of 12 episodes, we kicked off with Tree Learning Center. I thought this would be a good episode to do to launch the season with, because I think with Tree, this is something that relates to every Ghanaian, and it's something that the diasporans are always trying to learn. And I think it was something that is important for us to learn more about the history and more about the deeper meaning behind Tree. So I thought this would be a good episode to launch the season with. We also had a chat with Carlton Coffee, who is one of the journalists over at Asasi FM, who's one of the radio stations in Ghana. And we had a lovely chat about the state of journalism and the past, the present, and the future. And I think from a Ghanaian journalism standpoint, it's a really, really important episode, because we've seen Ghanaian journalism evolve over the years. I mean, you've seen mediums such as radio, TV, evolve, and now you have podcasts, and then you have YouTube, and you have other things which have come into the mix. So I think this is a really interesting episode for those of you who are in media, who are in content creation, even radio, some form of journalism, even if it's written journalism. I highly encourage all of you to check out the episode. That's a really, really strong episode. And then we talked to Amma Jampo about the future of entrepreneurship. We talked about things like sustainability, scale-ups, startups, and solving problems on the continent, which is a really, really fascinating episode. I don't think it has the amount of downloads and views that it really deserves. We also had a chat with, some of the agriculture entrepreneurs, such as Nana Coffee and Gideon, which are fantastic guests. I highly recommend that episode. I think it's one of my favorite episodes in the whole season. Had a great conversation with Rochelle, the YouTuber entrepreneur, who launched, a couple of, fast food joints in Nigeria and Ghana. And also is a veteran YouTuber and, a well-known, influencer. So that episode really, really performed well, not just on YouTube, but of course on social media. I think in terms of, if you want to look at the clips that performed the best in social media, you look at Rochelle, you're thinking Rochelle's episode, and you're thinking also Rocky Dawani's episode as well. Those 2 episodes had very high performing clips on social media. I mean, tens of thousands of views on Instagram, some of their clips, and so many likes. But it's not always about the likes, it's not always about the views, about the content, it's about other things. But in terms of performing clips, I think Rochelle is definitely up there. We also had a chat with Andis Barber, where we discussed, we discussed, Ghanaian barbers. How many podcasts have you heard that discuss, the state of Ghanaian barbers and the industry, and, what's happening in the industry? Are people able to survive, and what they're charging, and what's the future in the industry like, and how does, Ghanaian barbers benchmark or compare to other barbers around the world? I think one of the amazing things that Anders Barber said is that there was one guy who flew in to Ghana, had a haircut, and he said it was the best haircut in his life. And this guy is from America, and you can imagine how many top barbers exist in America compared to someone in Ghana. I think this is a great achievement, and I think what I took away from this episode is that Ghanaian barbers should be proud in terms of what we are capable of doing. And at the same time, Ghanaian barbers should definitely charge more to show their worth and to show their value. We also had a chat with Cyril Quadzo, and he's the co-founder of the GCR network. That's the Gold Coast Report. That's Ghana's biggest podcast empire, Ghana's biggest podcast network, essentially. And we had a chat about how they started, the genesis, and where they are now, and their learnings, and what we can learn from running a podcast network, and some of the challenges he's faced, some of the lows he's faced, also some of the highs he's faced. I've had some people message me personally, say that's the best episode that we've ever done on the Sound of Accra podcast, and that's really, really, really nice to hear. We also had a chat with Christina Carmel, who is a music journalist, not necessarily a news journalist like Carlton Coffee, but a music journalist. And we talked about her journey, moving to Ghana, and launching her TV show out here, and and discussing the state of Afrobeats and the state of African music in Ghana. It was quite interesting to hear about what her experiences she went through as a lady in the industry, and also how some artists in Ghana or even Africa have the wrong priorities. They aren't business minded enough. They're more focused on entertainment than rather business. It was quite interesting to hear that from her. I also had a chat with Anthony, who is the founder of Shaq Express, which is Ghana's first super app, and we discussed what it took for him to get to the point of building the super app. We talked about the bikes, how important electric bikes are in terms of taking off sustainability goals in the country and in the world, and how employing women has helped to shape his business, and other interesting things. So go and check out that episode. We also spoke to Rocky Dawani, as I mentioned earlier on, who had one of the best performing clips on social media, not just in terms of views, but in terms of likes. And we talked about activism, social impact. We talked about his music, and we talked about what kind of music is meaningful, and why some of this meaningful music isn't around anymore. And we also talked about the power of music and the power of coming together as Africans to make a positive change. So I highly recommend that episode. Again, another episode that hasn't had the attention it deserves. I really recommend you guys go out and check it out. And also the season finale, we had Nana Boateng, and who is the CEO founder of Black and Famous, which is one of Ghana's top luxury African wears. I highly recommend you guys go and check that one out. Really, really insightful episode in terms of how he started, and the kind of people he uses, the kind of influencers he collaborates with to get the word out there, and also how he goes about designing what he designs, and just all of the infrastructure and the operations behind it. Just very, very, very interesting. And he really kind of shared how it isn't easy to launch a fashion brand, and and to keep up with expectations, but also to evolve and to be and to run in your own lane at the same time. So that was a very fascinating episode. So the goal of this season on this season 6 of the Sound of Accra podcast was to really, really, really try and find some of Ghana's top movers and shakers from across different industries as possible. So that was fashion, that was film, TV, music, entrepreneurship, real estate, just all of these different industries, and then just bring all of these people together, including entrepreneurship. So bringing all these different people together to really showcase some garnering excellence that you guys can really be inspired from, learn from, and apply those meaningful takeaways that you can apply to your life, business, and career, as I always talk about it at the beginning of every episode. So yeah, I really think season 6 was a success. I think, in terms of the views and the downloads, I think they performed pretty well, considering, the size of the channel on YouTube as well, considering the size of the team. We have a very small team at the moment. And also, I also want to say that I think production was much better. I think in terms of, the positives that I can take from the season, I think sticking to the same studio as much as possible throughout the whole season, an actual studio, not using a space but a studio, really, really, really helped, to stay consistent and to not really have that many issues. I'll also say, bringing more people on board to the team, getting more freelancers on board to support the Sound of Accra Podcast team really helped us to, get some of the off-site episodes done, such as Black and Famous. We went to Black and Famous studio in East Legon, his store in East Legon, to go and get episode done. We also went to, one of the episodes that we weren't able to release. We also went to their premises in East Legon, weren't able to release, unfortunately, but having freelancers on board to support us to get the content done, that really supported us, that really helped us. I think also having a lot of our own equipment this time, coming to Ghana with my own equipment, really helped with the podcast, rather than having to rely on renting equipment and being disappointed, which is some of the learnings I took from season 5, which I may have mentioned in the review if you guys have checked that out, the review that I did in Portugal. And then also what I'll also say is I think being able to attract high profile guests at such quick time really helped me to get this season done and dusted before leaving Ghana, because I think the brand's equity has really proven itself to really attract higher profile guests, and to really attract guests at a quicker pace. And I think that really helps when you have a limited time in Ghana to record how many other episodes. To go back and forth with guests can really waste time. There were other guests, as I mentioned, that I wanted to record, but some of the guests were delaying. So I think it really helped also to reach out to a lot more guests, knowing that maybe one or two, maybe a few of them may not be able to make it, so that I had at least so that I can at least leave the country with a certain amount of episodes, so I don't go out of Ghana empty-handed. So I think reaching out to more guests than I needed helped, because there's always people that would drop out, etc. That really helped. And also the brand equity of the podcast has really helped me to attract higher profile guests at a quicker pace, so that we can get episodes done and turned over much quickly. And I think also coming with different cameras, and even more lighting, and sticking to a schedule and having the booking system, all of these different things that I've implemented in season 6 has really helped it to be a success. Okay, let's talk about what I would do differently. Now, what would I do differently in terms of season 6? Well, I think in terms of season 6, I would actually, next time I would use actual microphones, in terms of actual podcast microphones, rather than using wireless mics, which work fantastic. We invested in really good high quality wireless mics compared to season 5, which the quality wasn't really good, I would admit. I think if we used high quality podcast mics, I believe this would have really helped. But unfortunately, I think because of time, and because I wanted to work on a lighter basis, where I wanted to operate like a travel podcast, where if I needed to go to someone's space, it wouldn't take me too long, it wouldn't be too difficult to travel, to carry the equipment around and things like that, and it wouldn't be as difficult, to get, the setup. I think next time, if I have the ability to go around with podcast microphones, I think the sound will be much more crisper. And I think the episodes will probably perform better in turn, because I always preach audio first in podcasts. If your audio quality can't be what it needs to be, then there's no point of the video. You understand? The video won't be as nice to watch. So yeah, I'll probably take more microphones next time. I'll probably take a third camera next time, and also I'll shoot in 4K even more this time. We had some challenges with batteries and chargers and things like that, so we weren't always able to shoot in 4K. Mostly we had to shoot in HD, but next time to make sure that I shoot in 4K, come with better lenses, come with more cameras, come with a bigger team, and I think some of the negotiations that we were doing regarding sponsorships, another thing I will do is I'll start these a lot earlier, maybe before I get to Ghana, so that there's no disappointments. There were some negotiations that fell through. Of course, you guys saw that Workspace Global came through in the end and sponsored season 6. We've had a sponsor for the podcast every season since season 3, and Workspace Global came through. Make sure you try them for free. Workspaceglobal.com. We'll also leave a link in the description below. They came through and sponsored us, and and they've been fantastic to work with. So shout out to Workspace Global, and the team for your support and for helping to make this podcast reality, the season reality. But yeah, I'll definitely start negotiations for sponsorships a lot earlier. That's something definitely I'll do. Knowing how Africa works, we definitely have to start things earlier and have to adjust your expectations. So I think that is it in terms of season 6. I think I've captured quite a few things in terms of what I wanted to touch upon about season 6. I'm really pleased with the body of work. I think people really enjoy the body of work. We've had lots of interesting comments that have come through from season 6, and season 6 has also opened doors to other opportunities on the Sound of Accra podcast. So yeah, really thanks for your testimonials. Really thank you guys for all of the comments that you've shared. Really am grateful. But there's something I do want to say. From next season onwards, which is season 7, which has already been started recording in a different country, in London, we are going to take the seasons in a different direction. So more of this to come in terms of why we're going to take it in that direction, and why we also think it's the best way forward. But yeah, essentially season 6 is the last season of the format that you guys have seen for all of these years, at least for now. From season 7, there's going to be a different format in terms of how we go about dropping seasons of the podcast. So I want you guys to look out for our deeper explanation in terms of why we're changing the seasons and how we go about the seasons. But other than that, I hope you guys have a lovely day, have a lovely evening, wherever you guys are doing. Thank you for watching season 6. If you haven't watched season 6 or listened to season 6, check the links below in the description below, or on the screen. If any links pop up on the screen, please check those out. Season 6 is out now, available. Thank you for anyone who's listened or watched the episode or reacted to any of our social media posts or newsletters or emails or blogs. Everything is really much appreciated. And if you guys ever have any feedback for us, please let us know. Feel free to reach out to us, info@soundofaccra.com. If you want to send us an email, if you have any feedback, or you want to maybe partner with us, or maybe you want to sponsor a future season or even a different series. We now do multiple series rather than just seasons. And thankfully, one of the series that we now do is FinTech Friday, which is sponsored recently by Binance Africa. So thank you, Binance Africa, for sponsoring us. We're now attracting worldwide huge brands, and so the Sound of Accra podcast is now starting to become bigger than a podcast. So I want to thank you guys for all of your support for us to get this far. It's almost been 5 years in the making. Any feedback you have for us, for our content, or anything that we put out, please let us know. We'll have links in the description where you can get in touch with us. Once again, email info@thesoundofaccra.com. If you do want to sponsor any series or a new season or any of our podcast segments, also get in touch with us. Fill out the sponsorship form on our website or drop us an email, info@thesoundofaccra.com. Okay, starting to get dark here in Zimbabwe, just in the Harare Gardens. yeah, gonna go probably find some food soon. Earlier on heard some singing, some worshiping, in the gardens, which is really lovely to hear.
Yours is the kingdom, yours is the power, yours is the glory forever. Amen. Yes, you are yours.
For those of you who want to know my thoughts on Zimbabwe, I think it's a beautiful place, actually. At least Harare is a beautiful place, very different to Ghana. Beautiful people, wonderful people. But yeah, it's quite different. It's quite different to what I'm used to in Ghana. There's things that are different or better in some aspects to Ghana, and there's also things that are different or better. There are things that are different or not better in some aspects to Ghana. But yeah, I'm definitely recommend you guys coming out here if you can. But other than that, thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you in the next season, end of season review. Take care.